They worry in sub-freezing temperatures, shelters may run out of space.
You know, if they don't have enough room, there's not enough room.
What can you do? Just gotta take shelter and muscle through it, I guess.
The roads today, I mean, what are they? How are they?
Oh, they're horrible. They're horrible. Snow-packed all the way from Sandy.
What's your advice to others coming up this way?
Take a lot of time. It's a slow road.
But all of our stuff got soaked due to the snow, the rain. The wind scattered everything around. So I'm out collecting bottles and cans, just coming up with gas money so we can run a generator.
To say the least, it's gonna be a long day. It's gonna be a long day.
You look at the jagged peaks of the Cascades slicing into that impossibly blue high desert sky, and it feels like you've discovered paradise. It's pristine, it's expensive, and it's undeniably beautiful. But scratch just beneath that polished surface and the truth is lurking right there, festering out of sight. Drive just 5 minutes past the luxury ski resorts and trendy craft breweries where the pavement turns to red dust and sagebrush stretches endlessly, and you'll see it. Columns of black smoke rising not from casual campfires, but from desperate survival fires. Huddled tents buried in snowdrifts and clusters of beaten-up RVs parked at the edges of forgotten roads. That's the hidden side, the underground city where people struggle to survive in the bitter cold, far from the glossy brochures and the perfect postcards. It's a cruel irony, isn't it? We pour millions into preserving the natural beauty of the high desert, yet treat the people living within it as if they're nothing more than pests to be eradicated. In 2025, the point-in-time count made it crystal clear over 2,100 people experiencing homelessness across Central Oregon, up 17% from the previous year. Nearly half of them, about 1,000, are right in Bend, and most are unsheltered, exposed to the elements in ways that would test anyone's will to survive. Here, it's not just about addiction or poverty. It's about battling the raw, dry freeze of nature itself. Survival turns into a brutal fight, with the land worsened by policies that push people into isolated places like Juniper Ridge, while court decisions like Grants Pass versus Johnson allow crackdowns on camping. The enemy here isn't just poverty, it's the land. When temperatures dip to 10 below zero and the wind howls off the mountains, does a legal eviction notice really matter more than a human life? What's happening in Bend is frankly a cruel experiment, a harsh code blue winter clashing with a legal system that forces people deeper into the shadows. The view might be breathtaking, but the reality on the ground is suffocating. But have you ever wondered why, in a place marketed as a paradise, so many longtime locals, people who've called this home for years, are being pushed to the brink, just trying to stay warm? And what does it say about us as a society when tourism thrives and housing prices soar, but we still debate whether it's right to criminalize sleeping rough in the woods? This is a profound injustice stirred by controversy, because in my view, we've allowed economic greed to overshadow basic human decency, turning this stunning landscape into a battleground where the most vulnerable are paying the steepest price. And yet in those stories, there's a quiet resilience that demands our attention, don't you think? Overnight warming shelters, nature's enemy. The cold here is like no other. It's not that damp, bone-soaking chill you get in the Willamette Valley or the constant drizzle of Seattle that rots your socks off your feet. No, the high desert is deceptive. The sun might be shining in a sky so blue it almost hurts to look at, but the air itself is sharp like a knife. We're sitting at over 3,600 feet of elevation, and when winter arrives, it brings a dry, bone-deep freeze that doesn't just make you shiver, it shuts your body down. If you're on the streets in Grants Pass, you're battling the wet. It's miserable, a soggy existence, I'll give you that. But here in Bend, you're fighting the freeze. We're talking about temperatures regularly plunging into the single digits, sometimes dipping well below zero when the wind chill kicks up from the Cascades. Out in the scrubland, you see tents literally buried halfway in snowdrifts, 2, sometimes 3 feet of powder, packing them in like igloos. With snowfall averaging between 21 to 33 inches a year, about 53 to 84 centimeters for those who prefer metric.
The roads today, I mean, what are they? How are they?
Oh, they're horrible. They're horrible. Snow packed all the way from Sandy.
What's your advice to others coming up this way?
Take a lot of time. It's a slow road.
Those tents and makeshift camps get completely covered, looking picturesque on a postcard, but quickly turning deadly in reality. This is where the term code blue comes into play. Sounds clinical, doesn't it? Like something you'd hear in a hospital. But here it's a panic button. When the forecast hits freezing, the city triggers this emergency protocol, and suddenly survival mode is switched into high gear. The Lighthouse Navigation Center, which is already packed under normal circumstances, turns into a field hospital for the freezing. On these nights, capacity limits are ignored because the alternative is finding frozen bodies in the morning. You walk in and see grown men and women sleeping shoulder to shoulder on hard floors, curled up under folding tables. Folks are sprawled out anywhere they can find a sliver of space. Not everyone makes it inside. Some shelters have rules about pets or belongings that send people back into the brutal cold. It's chaotic. It smells like wet wool and desperation, but it's the only thing standing between them and the obituary column. Now think about the logistics of simply staying alive when the grid isn't an option. The daily grind is all about grit. Imagine trying to cook a meager meal over a makeshift fire when the wind snuffs it out every few minutes, or keeping your clothes dry in a tent that's more like a sieve than a shield from the snow. It's not just about staying warm, it's about basic survival. Water jugs freeze solid inside your car. Propane tanks lose pressure in extreme cold. You can't wash your hands, let alone take a shower, because the water pipes in public parks are shut off for the season. Hygiene becomes a luxury you can't afford. No running water means wiping down with frozen rags, and God forbid you need to relieve yourself in the dead of night without risking frostbite. And frankly, dignity is the first thing to go when you're shivering so violently it feels like your teeth might crack. Isn't it worth asking why so many of these people, 59 to 60% of whom are longtime Central Oregon residents, end up in this mess, especially when they're working full-time jobs but still can't afford a roof? There's also a brutal psychological toll to this kind of exposure. You aren't sleeping, you're just waiting for the sun to rise. You burn twice as many calories just to keep your core temperature up, yet you probably have half the food you need. And here's the hard truth nobody likes to face by forcing these people to move their camps every few days under local ordinances. We're not cleaning up the city. We're wearing them down to the point of collapse. How can anyone be expected to pull themselves up by their bootstraps when every waking moment is spent just trying not to freeze to death? Ultimately, nature out here doesn't care about your bad luck or your rental history. It is indifferent and lethal. While tourists are waxing their skis and sipping hot cocoa by the lodge fire a few miles away, a mother is trying to keep her kids from freezing in a vehicle with no insulation. That's the reality of the high desert winter. Beautiful, yes, but absolutely unforgiving. The geography of exclusion, the hotspots. To understand the geography of this crisis, you have to realize that Bend isn't just pushing people out, it is funneling them. The city has effectively drawn a line in the sand, or more accurately, in the volcanic dust. They call it Juniper Ridge on the official maps, but the locals have a much darker name for it, Dirt World. It's aptly named. This isn't a neighborhood. It's 170 acres of high desert scrub jagged lava rock and a fine red silt that coats the back of your throat the moment you step out of your truck. This is where the city has decided to corral the problem, a containment zone designed to keep the reality of homelessness comfortably out of sight from the tourists downtown. Life in Juniper Ridge is a study in controlled chaos. Rusted-out RVs are parked bumper to bumper, and tents are pitched on ground so hard you can't even drive a stake into it. It becomes a pressure cooker. When you pack hundreds of desperate people into a confined space with no running water and no privacy, you're not creating a community, you're creating a powder keg. In contrast, if you head south towards the National Forest boundary, you'll find the eerie silence of China Hat Road. Not too long ago, this stretch of forest was a sprawling, improvised city. Now it's a ghost town. Following massive sweeps in 2025, the area has been effectively sterilized. But if you walk those trails, the haunting scars remain a flattened patch of earth, where a family's tent once stood for 2 years, or a child's plastic truck half buried in a snowbank. It forces you to ask a difficult question. If we push everyone into the wilderness out of sight and out of mind, can we really call ourselves a civilized society? This brings us to the core of the city's strategy containment. By forcing people into a designated temporary safe stay area TSSA, authorities claim they can better manage the situation. But let's be honest, this is modern-day segregation. With new camping codes, absurd rules about tent spacing and camp sizes, the city has made it legally impossible to exist anywhere else. They're stripping away the natural safety nets people used to build for themselves. In the past, small groups would camp together for protection, safety in numbers. Now the law demands isolation. As a result, the social fabric among the unhoused is deteriorating. People are terrified, always looking over their shoulders, waiting for the next bulldozer to arrive. The strategy is clear. Make life within the city limits so geographically impossible that people simply vanish. But they don't disappear. They just get pushed into the dirt worlds where the fire risks are higher and human misery runs deeper. Ultimately, the geography of exclusion in Bend is a map of our own moral failures. We've taken the vast, open beauty of the high desert and and carved out prisons without walls telling our neighbors they are welcome to exist, provided they do it on the frozen fringe, where we don't have to acknowledge their humanity. Legal and technical constraints on existence. The heaviest blow in this entire heartbreaking situation lands from the legal side, where rulings from distant courts keep squeezing people just trying to survive. Take that 2024 Supreme Court decision City of Grants Pass versus Johnson, which casts a long shadow over Bend, turning outreach efforts into enforcement actions. Before, cities were hesitant about camp sweeps, fearing constitutional violations. But now this decision explicitly allows fines or even jail time for sleeping outside, even when shelter options aren't available. In Bend, this has fueled more aggressive clearings in places like the Deschutes National Forest throughout 2025, isolating the unsheltered even further. To me, that's a significant setback, especially when the dry cold already punishes people enough. On top of that, Bend's Camping Code 4.20, updated by Ordinance NS 2508 in 2024 and fully enforced by late 2025, makes survival even tougher. It bans camping on city property in rights-of-way and in residential areas, capping tents at a tiny 12 by 12 feet. No permanent setups are allowed, and open flames for heat are banned. It's gut-wrenching people scrape together whatever shelter they can, only to face rules that strip away even the most basic warmth against the bone-chilling high desert nights. And honestly, is it fair when the wind cuts like a knife out there? These time, place, and manner restrictions sound sensible in theory, but they shatter any sense of community. People can't group together for protection from wildlife or danger, leaving them scattered and vulnerable. With short stay limits in place, evictions hit fast, scattering belongings into the red dust. Then there's Oregon's HB 3115 from 2021, intended to keep public sleeping or warming up objectively reasonable. However, heading into 2026, there's growing pressure from business groups and lawmakers through bills like SB 645 and HB 2432 plus initiative petitions to repeal these protections outright, which would free the way for stricter bans without those reasonable checks. Have you stopped to think what it means when simply existing outdoors becomes a criminal act? It sparks real debate. Some argue it's necessary for clean, tourist-friendly spaces and public safety, but I see it as criminalizing poverty and hiding the issue rather than addressing the housing shortage. Moreover, with potential federal shifts tying aid to tougher approaches, places like Bend could face even more pressure. All in all, these laws grind relentlessly, reducing survival to mere bureaucracy. Still, glimmers of hope, like the new supportive housing units at Cleveland Commons, remind us that humanity isn't fully lost. But as restrictions tighten, we're losing ground on basic dignity. Deep down, it makes you wonder if we're building a society that values property over people, especially in a gem like Bend, where the beauty hides such harsh realities. Yet despite the clampdown, there's a glimmer in local efforts to add more supportive housing, like those 33 units at Cleveland Commons last year, proof that not everyone has forgotten the human side of things. Still, as the laws tighten, I can't help but feel like we're losing ground in the fight for basic dignity. Humanistic perspective and conclusion. Behind these cold, hard numbers are real people, flesh and blood individuals who have been grinding it out in Bend for years. Folks just like you and me, but caught in a brutal twist of fate. It's honestly heartbreaking to think about nearly 60% of these people are longtime locals rooted here for over a decade, not some drifters passing through town. Many are what we'd call the working poor full-time employees working honest jobs that barely cover rent in this booming tourist town. And then there are the seniors, God bless them, hunkered down in rickety RVs that rattle in the bitter winds their golden years turned into a nightmare of survival. I've seen it firsthand in places like this. It's not just about losing a roof over your head, it's about losing dignity piece by piece. However, amid the gloom, there's a glimmer of progress that's worth acknowledging. In 2025 alone, outreach teams helped rehouse over 300 households, guiding them toward stability through programs like Cleveland Commons, those supportive housing units offering a real lifeline without the red tape. Outreach workers, those unsung heroes, often say things like, "It's the first step out of the dirt," and boy does that hit home. But have you ever stopped to wonder what it really feels like for someone to claw their way back from that frozen edge, especially when the system's stacked against them? Let's also talk about the human side that's so easily overlooked. These aren't just statistics. They're parents shielding their kids from the howling blizzards, veterans wrestling with invisible scars, or everyday folks knocked down by a medical bill or a sudden layoff. To me, the real tragedy plays out on those sub-zero nights where the dry cold seeps into your bones like a thief in the dark. It forces us to confront the glaring blind spots in society where sky-high housing costs driven by Ben's outdoor paradise allure can shatter lives in an instant. And yet, despite the hardships, there's a quiet resilience, a community spirit flickering in those makeshift camps where strangers become kin just to make it through another cold, lonely night. But here's something that might ruffle a few feathers. Why on earth are we leaning into punitive measures like criminalizing camping, when it's crystal clear that all it does is kick people when they're already down? In my book, that's not tough love, it's downright cruel, especially in a place like Bend, where the wilderness itself is an unforgiving foe. What if we completely flipped the script and invested in compassionate solutions, like expanding affordable housing with no strings attached? If Juniper Ridge shuts down come December without real alternatives, we'll be setting a dangerous precedent for every rural corner of America, turning backwoods into battlegrounds for the forgotten. This saga in Bend isn't just a local headache. It's a mirror reflecting our national struggle with poverty weather's wrath and the law's heavy hand. It forces us to pause and reflect in a land of plenty. How long can we let our neighbors freeze in the shadows? If Bend leads with heart over hammer, it could rewrite the story for all of us, one warmer shelter at a time.